Welcome everybody to today's episode of Colorado Films, the podcast. Today I'm speaking with Justin McClure. Justin is originally from a small town in South Carolina. Justin joined the United States Air Force at the age of 18 and spent the first part of his service in a short tour in Turkey for Operation Inherent Resolve. He was then moved to Okinawa, Japan, where he ultimately decided to separate and pursue a career in film. Justin moved to Colorado to attend CU Boulder, where he graduated in cinema studies with a summa cum laude. And just this month, he released his first independently funded film, Man Maddox, which follows Dorian Richard, a Colorado pro wrestler whose childhood past has shaped an identity for his pro wrestling character. Justin, thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah. Thanks, Corey, for having me. I'm really excited. I love talking. First of all, I can just talk all day. But then when I start talking about films, that's another thing. And then talk about things I made. I could talk here all day. So thanks for having me.
Thank you for being on. So, how did your time in Turkey and Okinawa influence, your filmmaking that we see today?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me is just the military as a whole really introduced me to great storytellers. Because where I grew up, and you kind of know everybody your whole life. Everybody I went to elementary school, I went to high school with them, and then I know them still. So that's just kind of how it is in the small town. So when I got to join the military, I met people from everywhere, the suburbs of Chicago, New York City, Brooklyn, anywhere that you can think of, a lot of people from overseas. And I think it really introduced me to this just the captivation that storytelling does, because you could be out somewhere that you hate being in, weather could be sucky, the job sucks, whatever you're doing could be sucky, and then you have this one person that just brings everybody together because he's telling about some story when he was 13, him running away from the cops in the Philippines, something like simple like that. And it really made me appreciate the experience as a whole. Once I realized that the more experiences you go through, the better you are at telling stories that are not even yours, because you just got a lot more open mind to how the world works. And I think my first station was in Interlick. It was a lockdown base. You can't leave, you can't really do anything but work out, and then you are allowed to drink there. So obviously the way the military goes.
Yeah.
um, but being there, that was my first kind of culture shock leaving the South. I get put into this Middle Eastern country where you're only 30 miles from the Syrian border. They're doing prayer calls 3 times a day. I'm seeing all these Humvees drive around base, Blackhawks flying over. I'm thinking, wow, like this is crazy. And the longer I'm there, the more I realize, like, wow, this place is really rich in culture, and it's such a beautiful place, such beautiful people there. And I started this where I originally got my first time looking at international films, because growing up, I kind of just watched your regular films that you watch with your father. Watched a lot of Goodfellas, all the Godfathers, and like those are still my favorite movies. Still cherish Fast and Furious, but this kind of opened me up to more international films, because some of my coworkers who were local nationals were like, "Hey, check this out." And I started realizing that film is really this in-depth cultural experience. It's a way to describe not only a moment, but also the people that are in a place. And so I left there, went to Japan, and then obviously the way Japan is, that blew up even more for me, because the cinema culture is so big out there. And kind of about my last year in Japan, I was stationed in Okinawa, but I was able to take frequent trips to Tokyo. I got to go see the original Godzilla in theaters.
Nice.
Um, yeah, it's actually not called Godzilla. It's oh, somebody's gonna make fun of me for forgetting. But anyways, I got to see it, and it depicted not only the war differently for me because of how they perceive Americans in that film, but it was a way different film than anything I had ever seen, because the Godzilla that I'm used to in America is a monster blowing up towns, which is awesome. I'm gonna go every time and see it in theaters. But this movie was really about Godzilla as more of a soul, a character, something that is standing over the Japanese people. And so
Okay.
that really opened me up. And I decided, was a little tired of my job in the military, and I wanted a little bit more freedom. So I decided to move back to South Carolina just for a little bit. I wanted to go to film school, but I didn't really know how that worked. So I kind of thought you had to go to like a theater program. Maybe you had to become an actor or something, become a director. I didn't really know. And then so I obviously I had my GI Bill, so I was like, okay, I'm just gonna apply to a random place. Found Colorado, never been here before. Boulder looked beautiful. I was like,
Yeah.
I've always the past pretty much my whole life I lived by the ocean. So I was like, I want to move to the mountains now, see how it
All right.
is. Yeah, so I decided to come out here, and then even when I was going to school, I was still kind of stuck in between, right? Like, am I supposed to do theater? Am I supposed to do multimedia? Like, how do I really get into this industry? And luckily, I found a great professor named Erin Espinel, who she taught this class called 2001: A Space Odyssey, which
Okay.
obviously made after Kubrick's
Yeah.
movie. But we watch all movies that are made in about space, from we watched the original Alien, we watched 2001, you watch Princess Kaguya, which is like an anime from Japan about the moon. And this was another like real spiritual shock to me because again I'm just so used to watching things like Step Brothers, Talladega Nights, all these kind of movies that I grew up on, and then I'm
Yeah.
looking
Yeah.
at it's like, wow, this is a whole different world out here. Like this is, and then seeing someone truly passionate about it, they made a successful career from it, and there's someone who actually like this is what they do all day. I was like, wow, this is achievable.
Yeah.
So from that point, I fully switched over to my degree in cinema studies. Had a great time at CU, learned a lot, met really good mentors, and then graduated last year and decided to fully fund. I was able to get some outside funding, just
Nice.
from local Colorado people, great people, especially in Boulder,
Yeah.
Um, and so I was able to make this film. And I kind of want to go into now how the film got selected because I personally feel like a lot of filmmakers try to attach, which is okay, attach like a really intellectual reason for why they decided to make a film. For me, it just came to me. I was already in the process of making another film about wildland firefighters
Okay.
stationed out in New Mexico, and I had already like contacted some crews, got the job rolling, and then I met Dorian.
Okay.
So I originally had met Dorian about a year and a half before that. He was working as a 24-hour fitness janitor. And he was a guy who I met one time, and he just always knew my name. I noticed that he would always know everybody's name who came in, from
All
like
right.
a young person to old people. I'm just like, wow, that guy. And he's an opposing figure. He's about 6'6", 6'7", over 300 pounds. I mean,
All
I know
right.
you know how that is, Corey. You're a big guy, so
Not that big.
yeah, he's a massive figure. So when you see someone like this, and you just see like such a gentle soul, kind-hearted, it's a little bit of a surprise. And so I kind of I was like, oh, that's a really nice guy. And he kind of stayed in the back of my mind for about over a year. And one day I went to a jiu-jitsu competition. It's called Mat Wars. And what
Okay.
they do is they combine jiu-jitsu with pro wrestling. So I was here, I was there to go see Coach Artie compete.
Okay.
I'm at the concession stand, I'm getting a hot dog, and I hear this person on the mic yelling, and I hear this little kid scream, and I'm like, what? So I turn around and I see this guy slap some food out of a little kid's hand and then just throws up a middle finger in his face, and he's got the mic, and he's like Madman Maddox doesn't care about no fans. And he turns around and it's Dorian. So,
Nice.
yeah, and I'm like, I just had this complete shock. I'm like, wow, this is the guy that I like always tell people is one of the nicest like souls I've ever interacted with, and now here he is pretending being this character who's
Yeah.
harassing little kids. And so from that moment, I was just like, wow, this guy, something is a lot deeper to this person, And I tried to find Dorian for months, couldn't get in contact with him, and then I found that other film I was going to make with the wildland firefighters. So I started work on that, and one day I was just watching somebody else's film, a cinematographer that I know out of New York. He came here and made a small film in Colorado, and Dorian was a backup actor in it.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey man, I need that guy's contact, please, you know? And he's like, oh, of course. And then that kind of got the ball rolling. I went and just had a small 30-minute meeting with Dorian. And in that moment, there was really no like idea of like, oh, I want to make this film to show that Dorian is someone who had a troubled past, who like is resilient and made it out of it, or Dorian's a person of color who had to experience all these things in a primarily white childhood, you know. And it's like none of these things came to my mind. It was more of like, wow, this is an amazing person, and I really want to put his story out there.
Yeah.
Because one of the things that he said to me the first time we met and had that conversation is, you know, I always knew that my story could help somebody else out, because he said
Yeah.
even as a kid he would remember like, okay, if I'm going through this, other people are going through this, and maybe my story can help them. Just that self-awareness, like he really stuck out to me. It's just like a, you know, not the average person that you meet.
Yeah.
So once I had that conversation with him, I left in the parking lot. I called the fire crew that I was going to go film, and I said, I'm sorry, I can't do it, something else came up. And from there on, we shot Man Maddox.
Nice. Yeah, I like it too. And so there was Bruce, because we've had Bruce on the
Yeah.
show talking about his documentary or his film as well. And just seeing the two, like his is all in black and white and yours has color. And so like no seeing those two films, like, oh, it's really good. I saw how you played with it. And I really liked through all of your films, the soundtracks, like the music on there blends very seamlessly with the scene. And I think that was my biggest takeaway from each one was, you know, because you also have Miles, a short film, Tweaking in the Motel, which is a nice look at, you know, current technology in life.
Yeah.
I was like, I know this. Okay, they're tweaking at the motel. Oh, okay. And then
Yeah. Yeah.
Rockstar, you know, that was also a very nice, you know, just musical interlude with what, Ice Lee in it? Was he the one playing?
Yes.
Yeah.
His name is Isley. Yeah. Awesome
Okay.
name as an actor. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's actually going to be in a short that I'm making in a couple months. So I'm excited to have him back.
Oh,
Uh,
nice.
because that was a very simple film. That was more for that specific film. That was more me experimenting with After Effects. I'm, and you probably got that from that film and maybe my others. I'm a really I don't know if you would even say big fan, but Stanley Kubrick is a really big inspiration for me.
Okay.
Um, yeah, so and it kind of comes back from that class I took, because that was my first introduction. I had never even heard of him besides The
Okay.
Shining. I saw The Shining as a kid, as we all do,
Yeah.
and I never heard of 2001: A Space Odyssey. You know, it's just never has come up in South Carolina vocabulary, I guess. But
Okay.
yeah, but anyways, I got introduced there, and then after that, I watched all of his films, and he's, you know, he was a very recluse man, so he has very little interviews. But just hearing him, hearing his passion, and seeing how he is a person that fully takes control of his work is a
Yeah.
big inspiration for me. So in all of my work, I never want to say I don't care. You know, like if someone says, hey Justin, this character, what should he wear? As a director, as a filmmaker, I don't think you should ever say I don't care, because then in a way you don't care about the film.
Yeah.
And again, this is all personal interpretation,
Yeah, of
but
course.
I that's a big thing that has stuck out from him with his work to me. Is just like I never want to say I don't care. I want to have, and control might be the wrong word, but it actually might be the right word. Is I really do want to have control over every aspect. You know, it's
Yeah.
all the cuts are important. If you even in the Man Maddox, I worked with a great editor, Elizabeth Lowe. Um, we still, as you do with your editor, we bump head in multiple situations just on cuts. You know, like should it cut here? Should we cut it a little bit faster? Should we let this moment simmer? And I think that's the thing as a filmmaker, that you just have to feel what feels natural to you, because some people they like that fast cut action. You know, it's like boom, he looks here, we switch to a two shot. As you saw in my films, I like to sit, I like to sit in the moment, I like to really let the person kind of have their moment in front of the camera, so that way you can feel all the things that the character feeling. You're forced to,
Yeah.
The cinema is such a meditative experience. You know, we're in a dark room. Well, now we watch things on our phones, laptops, all that stuff. But the actual cinema, you know, you're in a dark room. You're forced to sit in this moment to experience what they're experiencing. You can look away, but it feels wrong in a movie theater. You know,
Yeah.
so I'm trying to establish that in my work. Kind of have these defining moments where there doesn't necessarily need to be talking, the dialogue, but more rather you as a viewer feel it. You're like, oh man, you know,
Yeah.
it's in Man Maddox. We have the moment when he says, "My mother, you know, it hurt me back then, and it makes me angry still now.
Hmm.
Why would you do this to us?" And then it just sits on a still shot of him sitting at the bench looking off in the mountains.
Yep.
Because
That was
then
insane.
that's how he feels, you know. It's like
Yeah.
a person with that grief, that stuff, they block it in. They're alone in a world.
Yeah.
So yeah, Stanley Kubrick guy. I don't know if you are as
Oh
well.
yeah, no, Dr. Strangelove, I
Yeah,
think that's one of the best, you know.
Peter Sellers is the greatest comedian actor of all time, in my
Ooh.
opinion.
Yeah, I like Mel Brooks, and that's actually the name of the podcast. Colorado Films, the podcast, is a nod to Spaceballs. So
Oh, really? Yeah,
yeah, just find where you can find that. And
that's
then
awesome.
like I didn't do film studies. I was at CU for like a semester, but I took a film appreciation class and got to watch Mulholland Drive with Ebert, like from
Yeah.
Siskel and Ebert. And I was like, the kind of same thing when you watch the Space Odyssey. You're just like, wow, this can be cinema. This is wild stuff.
Yeah, I just it's such a it's such like an eye-opening experience. You know, it feels like your soul is almost opening when you kind of break that gap because it makes me even look more fondly on the movies that I did watch growing up. I
Yeah,
mean, those moments when I watched Goodfellas or any, like I mentioned, The Godfathers with my father, those are like prized memories because my father worked a lot in a factory, and those would be when he was home. We'd watch those things together, and I kind of didn't realize that until I was older. You know,
yeah,
you think you just love it because it's a gangster movie. It's shot beautiful. It's awesome. But then you realize you attach a lot more to it.
yeah,
You know, it's about where you are in life as well when you watch a film. You know,
exactly. And what do you think? Do you think there's ways or what could be done? Because it seems like you're saying, and like everybody, we watch it on our computers, we watch it on iPhones, like bringing people back into cinema. It's like, how do you think? How do you view that landscape changing?
yeah, I'm a person that I've always gone, and I think it's because one in my town there's not many things to do. So the movie theaters where we go, and then in the military, being on bases, sometimes you can't leave the base. Not many things to do. So what do you go? You either go to the movie theater or you do a movie night as a squadron. So I think that's what it comes down. It's not really about doing it by yourself. I think the way we keep it alive is keep doing it as first dates. Keep doing it as going somewhere with your grandfather. Take your grandma to a movie. You know,
Yeah,
you're home for the holidays. Go watch a movie. You know, and I do think it really seems like the landscape is that is when they push out a lot of movies. Obviously, we see all the hits come out November, December time frame, so people can go see them with their families. But I think the way that we keep it alive is you don't make it a personal thing, an individual thing, I should say, because I'm not against going to the movies alone. I go by myself. I don't mind. I saw Marty Supreme alone.
yeah,
Great film.
nice.
Um, but I think the experience of being with people is what we fall in love with at the cinema. I heard this beautiful story once of Robert. I'm forgetting his name right now, but he basically his mother passed away when he was younger, and he remembers as a kid being at the funeral and his friends asked him like, "Hey, why isn't your father crying? You know, like your mom dies, your father, does he not care?" And he kind of thought to himself like, "Man, does he not? Did he not care? Like, what's going on?" And
Yeah,
then he says a couple months passed, and him and his father went to the movie, and he doesn't even remember what movie they saw, but he just remembers sitting there, and he just hears something next to him, and it was just his dad bawling. And he said his dad, like, it was literally just teardrops running all through his face. And then he said he realized he looked back at the screen and it was a scene where a mother was like with her kids and her husband. And
Mm.
he, at that moment, he realized like what the cinema was for him, and it was this kind of the outside life shell for his father. In the cinema, he could feel like himself. He could let these emotions out because you're in this dark space, and it's everything that we're feeling. It's like it directly speaking to our soul because we're so locked in. And I think his that story I really like because it shows that it's not necessarily you're just going to see a movie. That's what we do. We just go to see a movie, but it's such a deeper experience than that. And I just think we forget that. Like I never even knew that until a couple years ago.
Yeah.
It kind of just was blinded to me. But now I realize how deep of an experience it is. And I think we keep that tradition alive by bringing family, bringing friends. Like just keep going to the cinema. Why
Yeah.
not? We got to lower prices a little bit, but
Yeah. I mean, I remember back in the day, my dad would take me to the dollar movie. So it wasn't new releases, 3 months out or whatever. And there was a Woolworths where we'd get the penny candies and whatever. Now I'm old, so
that's
and
not.
we'd sneak it in. So we'd just start sneaking all the candy in, and like that's kind of been my, I'll buy the popcorn, but like the other stuff, I'm like,
Oh
can't
no.
I can't pay 1,000% markup on this. I'm sorry.
I'm going pockets full, candy, drinks. As long as you pay for the movie and my eyes are doing all right.
All right.
You're
Yeah.
still It's still helping the cinema. Yeah. I
Yeah.
think we're making a comeback though, personally. I think this year is gonna be a great year for films. We
Yeah.
obviously have the Odyssey coming out this summer. We have Doomsday, Avengers Doomsday later in the year, which is how you feel about Avengers movie. Still gonna be I mean,
Yeah.
people can say what they want about that in the Avatar movies. It's still bringing so much money to films that
Yeah.
I love it. I think any way that you bring people's eyes to I almost said sport like jiu-jitsu, anybody anyway you can bring eyes to the sport though, it's great.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited for those films, and I think we might see a surge in people attending the cinema this year. I think Sinners did a good job this past
Yeah.
year doing that. Really
Yes.
brought people back to wanting to see an IMAX. So
Yeah. Yeah. Because there, like you said, there are some things that can't be recreated on a computer without, the sound systems, the visuals, all that. Like it's
oh,
good.
it's nothing the same. I'm not sure if you've seen Barry Lyndon. Uh Barry
Uh,
Lyndon, it's Stanley Kubrick's movie.
yeah. Yeah.
He shot that on the NASA lenses, so they're super fast telephoto lenses. And I was so lucky I got to see it on a big screen, and it just looked amazing. I was like, wow, this every single shot looks like a painting. And then I ran home and was like, I have to watch that, and I threw it on my TV. And within 10 minutes, I turned it off. I was like, just not the
Yeah.
same,
Yeah.
But still a beautiful movie, but you lose a little bit with that because so much with formatting stuff like that. And as a filmmaker, that's things that we have to keep in mind now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I understand that people are going to watch Man Maddox on their phone. I would prefer it not, but if it happens, it happens. As long as they can change the quality to 4K, I'll be happy.
All
So
right. I'll make sure to let everybody know that. Do you have any is it entered in any festivals, shorts? You got any distribution of it?
yeah, so just last night we showed at our first festival. I was not able to attend. It was the Pint Size Film Festival in Philadelphia.
Okay.
A small brewery runs a festival out there, and yeah, it showed last night. Got some good hits.
Nice.
They didn't do awards at that one, but
Okay.
it was really awesome to get it out there. We slightly missed the major film festival season just by a couple months because of like when we were actually able to get the film out.
Yeah.
So I still did a small run. We've been accepted to about 6 so far. Uh, I'm hoping to get into the Colorado Mesa Film Festival later this year. That'd be
Okay.
really good. But obviously, starting the fall months, I'll kind of start pushing out again for the next run.
Okay.
So I think we'll have more hits then. For distribution, no, nothing yet. I've talked to So there's a YouTube channel that now owns all of the old WWE kind of documentaries that they used to do. They did one on Hart. He was like this big pro wrestler back in the day, and they kind of reached out to me. They saw the film and kind of mentioned maybe getting on the channel or something. We're not 100% there yet. So as of right now, I just have it up on my channel on Justin McClure Films,
All right.
just for everybody. The main reason for me in that too personally is this film was really made for Dorian himself. And a big thing with those big festivals is you have to keep it secret. Yeah, nobody can watch it. You have to send private links, and it just personally didn't feel like the right thing to do with this film. I contemplated that for a couple weeks, and I ultimately just decided to just push it out there, let him see it, because I wanted him to be able to watch it as many times as he want, but also I wanted him to show it with his friends, experience it with his family. Because as you watch, there's a lot of people in the film.
Oh
His
yeah.
father, his other pro wrestlers, all types of action shots. I'm sure those pro wrestlers would love to see themselves in there.
Yeah.
So even we got to work with some child actors in this film, which was a new experience, but it was
Yeah.
cool.
What was that? I mean, I've never worked with an actor, so like what'd you find different that you had to adjust your typical filmmaking style to do to work with child
Um,
actors?
so yeah. The biggest thing I think, I was trying to think how I want to say this, is definitely just having parents, a guardian on set. You
Oh
just,
yeah. Okay.
and it's not necessarily, I've heard that it can cause issues. Obviously you hear that in Hollywood and stuff like that. But Mrs. Turner, Lucas and Logan Turner were my two childhood actors, and
Okay.
their mother, Mrs. Turner, she was great to have on set. It was an amazing time, and even something that funny happened on set is the small scene when they're running, the two brothers, they're twin brothers. I think they actually might be a couple years off, sorry. They just look so similar if you notice in the picture. But anyways, when they were running on the take, they kept racing each other because that's how it is with siblings when you're so close in age.
Yeah.
They kept come sprinting next to the camera like as fast as they could, and as a director, I'm working with my cinematographer. I'm like, we're trying to shoot it in slow motion too. I'm like, they're just going too fast. Like, so I keep asking them, slow it down, and then they just keep racing. And then finally, she stepped from behind the monitor and had to lay down the mother authority real quick. And then that
That's
next
great.
take was the take we used. So yeah, that was great. But it just little things like that, different kind of consent forms than you would with normal actors. Uh,
Okay.
you got to be careful what we have on set. We want to make sure they're safe.
Of course.
Um, yeah, just little things. Also, a thing that I was really trying is because Lucas, he had primarily he is a theater trained actor, and he had primarily only worked in films in Colorado that has dealt with him dying as a
Oh,
young black male. So
yeah.
that's like it. That was it. It's kind of a hard thing for him, a young child, and that's all he ever worked with. And even in our film, he was still playing a young child who was going through these hard times.
Yeah.
So during the recording, I really try to make it more of an upfill, like make him feel really good during the project, not gloomy like how it's almost portrayed in the film. I really want to. We were playing, good vibes music, and Capri Sun, snacks rolling, just trying to make him feel like not that sad energy,
Yeah.
because that's all
Okay.
he's used to too. I don't want him to like feel like that, and I think he did an amazing job with all the actors I've worked with, he's been the person I've done the least amount of takes with. So
Oh,
yeah, he very quick learner and just a fun experience overall. I think learning how to work with child actors is an important thing, especially wanting to pursue film more. It's something that's gonna come up.
yeah.
How many movies can you really think about that don't have a child in it at all?
Yeah.
You know, so yeah,
Okay.
different experience but fun.
Yeah. No, it definitely seems like, you're learning something with that too. Like this is, do it well and these kids can knock it out of the park. So,
Yeah, yeah, and I almost wonder. I kept questioning to myself. So, like something I heard in the military is whenever you first because I had hunted my whole life with rifles, used handguns just at ranges and stuff. But then when I went in the military, my shot wasn't that good at first, and I because of the way that they were instructing us to hold it, and the instructors kind of told me, they go, because I noticed someone who had never shot a rifle before got marksman right next to me, and I'm like, what is going on? Like, I've killed deer in my life, like I should be good at this. And the instructors kind of tell me, they go, oh, it's because you built bad habits. Like the way that you learn naturally, you weren't instructed correctly, so you built bad habits that kind of throw you off in little things. So now when you do it, it's off. And so I kind of take that in filmmaking. And I think with actors, you can see that, because when I work with kind of older actors, they might have habits from other films and things that they're not willing to change, because they're like kind of stuck in that mindset. This is how I do it. This is how I am as an actor. But with the child actors, they were like, oh, you want me to try this? You want me to change my face? Boom, done. And it was
Okay.
like they were willing to listen to whatever I gave them, which was like really helpful as a director, because you love that whenever someone can hear you and they actually are understanding what you're saying. Okay, I want you to have this emotion when you get out of the bed, instead of like, the director said this, but I'm feeling this.
Yeah.
It's a lot more of a structured, organized kind of approach, I think.
Okay. And did you try to convince anybody on the film to join jujitsu, or was anybody on the film in jujitsu?
Um, so Dorian, I try to get him in there, but he's really busy, and obviously his body takes a lot of damage from doing. I mean, he
Yeah.
does 4 or 5 shows, maybe every week sometimes.
Really? Dang.
Yeah, he's a hustler, and I try to get him in there. And one day I was actually in the locker room, and Amal was in there, and we were talking about the film. And Amal goes, "How big is he?" I'm like, "Oh, he's like 6'6", 330 pounds." And he did actual like freestyle wrestling.
Yep. Yep.
So he understands grappling like really good. And Amal was like, "Don't bring him in here." he was like, he was like, "We do not need someone like that. Come beat up all the old guys." But
Yeah. Well, we're old. That's why.
yeah, yeah. And I love in the film. He goes, "Yeah, I'm getting up there. I'm turning 29."
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but no, I try to get him in there. But obviously, along the way of making the film, I got to hang out with a lot of jujitsu people, because a couple people like brown belt David, if you know him, he just got his brown belt. Asian David, he works at 24/7, so I got to see him.
Okay.
And then Hopper, obviously
Yeah.
Hopper's a pro wrestler,
Yeah.
kind of. He's like a super fan. He was at all the shows, so I got to see him a lot. You know,
Okay.
and then, yeah, even like just meeting a lot of these pro wrestlers, a lot of them have grappling experience,
Yeah.
but their whole mindset is like, which risk do I take? Breaking my arm doing like pro wrestling, or going to jujitsu and breaking my arm? So I'm like, I understand.
Yeah. Makes sense. I just want to wrestle more people, though. So.
Yeah.
So, looking back at this film, what do you think? What was your proudest moment, or of any of your films, I guess? Or yeah, let's just stick with this one.
Yeah. With this one, uh, I guess there's a couple proud moments. Yeah, the proudest one that first comes to mind is just showing the film to Dorian and his family. We did a private screening. We were able to rent out a place, one of the small places on campus, on CU campus. So thank you to them. So we got to do a small screening for him, his friends, and his family. And that was really rewarding, because during the film screening, we had some technical difficulties as it goes. Some of the small shots just want little things, but as a filmmaker, I'm sitting there like exploding. I'm
Yeah.
like getting angry. I'm like, I'm almost getting too mad where I know the people around me can see it, because I'm like, what's going on? How's
Yeah.
this messing up? This was perfect when we checked an hour ago. And so I was so frustrated, so angry, so like stuck on myself how I felt about the film. And then I turn around, and Dorian and his family are all covered in tears. They're all laughing. Like
Ah,
they're all like, that was amazing. So it made me sit back like, oh, this is not about me.
yeah.
Even though I'm the filmmaker, I'm the director, there was already a crew of 10 plus people. And then at the end of the day, the subject was Dorian. So the
Yeah.
story is him. And so that really was like a moment where I'm like, okay, I could feel to me how it feels, especially a moment like that. Technical difficulties, they come and go. But it was like in my head, like, okay, this is a film about Dorian. This is his, and that he loved it, and that's what meant the most.
Okay.
Because all through the editing process, a big thing me and my editor constantly worked, and I worked with my mentor Christopher Osborne. Um, we worked a lot of like, how would Dorian want his story perceived? Because there was obviously, it's only a 19-minute runtime. There's only about 14 minutes of dialogue, but we've done about 5-6 hours of interview with him. So
Okay.
so we have that much storage. And the thing is like, I didn't want it to feel, because he had really rough childhood and a lot of things that weren't even shown in the film, that it almost didn't want it to feel like, when you were watching it, like just constant heartbreak. The whole time you're just like, ah. The goal was to show what Dorian has, which is Dorian has hope.
Yeah.
He is hope. Like, he lived all this, he experienced all this, and he's still chasing a dream that seems impossible, but he loves it so much that he's willing to do whatever to get it. And yeah, just as a human being, I find that so inspiring. So just being able to see his take of the film and how he felt after, that was a really proud moment for me. Just him loving it. I was like, okay, we did well. I told everybody who worked on the film, I was like, you know what? This film could be seen by only 20 people, could never make it in a festival, nothing. As long as he loved it, we did something right. And I feel like we
Well,
did. So.
from what I see on your YouTube page, it's a little over 20. It's 745 right now. So
Yeah, we've had a little bit of boost this past week. It's been nice.
yeah, I like saying that. Are there anything? Oh, yeah, let's see. You respond. What do you think your biggest challenge was then?
Ooh, challenge. Okay. Yeah, because obviously creating anything in life comes with challenges, right?
Mhm.
I think the biggest challenge for me is cultivating a story that is about somebody else's story, you know? And which is why I'm kind of attracted to documentary film work right now, is
Okay.
because in the future, I would love to get into narrative and make the type of feature films that we see now. But I think you really have to understand what character you're trying to tell, understand what you're actually trying to tell people. And it took me a long time in this film to get that. Because in my head, in the beginning of the film, I'm like, okay, Dorian went through crazy childhood. Dorian, great guy. Dorian, pro wrestler. Okay, I can make a film out of this. But then when you go into it, it's like, that's not a film. That's just like a video you can make on your phone.
Yeah.
So it's like, how do we actually make this a story that people want to watch, that people will stay engaged? 19 minutes isn't long, but with the way short form content is now, it's hard to get somebody to stay for 19 minutes, especially on a YouTube release.
Yeah.
So I think a big part of it is bringing those ups and downs. We start off kind of seeing like this introduction to pro wrestling. It immediately starts off with that one shot of him getting beaten up, thrown onto the ground. Then
Yeah.
we see him doing warm ups. And I think we kind of slowly, in the beginning of the film, we get a boost whenever we had that Deftones track. Love Deftones.
Yeah.
Uh, but we see that, and it brings up the momentum a little bit. And so you're kind of sitting there like, okay, this isn't just your regular story. It's a little bit more cinematic, a little bit more narrative. And as we worked through that, it was just about getting the story to somewhere that Dorian I would feel at peace, that Dorian would say that enough of his story was told, and it was told in the right way.
Okay.
And so, like I said, it kind of goes back to that hope aspect. I hope that's what the film can give people when they watch it.
All right. So do you have any advice for aspiring filmmakers? I guess, the people in the film program at CU now, what would you say to them now that you've kind of, done well with it?
I would say, quote from Shia LaBeouf, just do it. Uh, Just literally just do it. If you have an idea, like just go after it. The biggest thing I think that this film turned out good is, or turned out well, is we just did whatever felt right.
Yeah.
Maybe I didn't feel like driving to Colorado Springs on a Friday, going to see his show, and then waking up early and driving to Fort Collins to go to his other show. But we were like, let's just do it. Let's just ride it for the experience. And it's a good wrap to back how I started off with the interview. Is it's all about experience in life, right?
Yeah.
Like I think that's the best way that you can become good at anything is experience. I mean, jujitsu, like
Yeah.
you're going to be bad. You're going to get beat up. And I think a lot of people leave during that moment. But the
Yeah.
ones who love it like us love that because we know deep inside that this is only going to make us good. Like I know right now, if Corey's beating up on me really bad, I'm like, okay, in 10 years, if I just keep taking this, I'm going to
He'll
get
be
him
too old to fight back.
yeah. That too. Age is a thing, but it's
Yeah.
really in 10 years I'll be at a position like you. I'll be at a purple belt that can truly understand more than just the fundamentals, and then actually be using and learning while you're doing it, which is so exciting. That's how I
Yeah.
feel about film now. I'm just so excited to be in it, so excited to be a rookie in it, because I think being a rookie, being a newcomer, is something people don't prize enough. This
Right.
is where you become really who you are.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm just loving every moment of it. So
All right. Well, I think that's a good wrap. Thank you, Justin. Thanks for
yeah,
coming
thanks
on the
for it.
show. And we'll have you on some more. I have some ideas. We'll bat around, after, but go see more film. Go watch
Yes.
Man Maddox on YouTube, Justin McClure Films.
So
And thank you again. See you,
thanks
buddy.
for it.
Yeah.
See ya.